Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, November the 30th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. Another big Saturday NHL slate, following up a massive Friday, Black Friday slate. And it's nice to say that we were in the black big time on Friday. It's been just a massive 2 days here, sandwiching Thanksgiving in NHL with best bets. Again, those of you that are SoBet members of mine, you know what that's about. 24-6 the last 2 days in the NHL with best bets in this sport in the NHL for me, Wednesday and Friday combined. It's just been a spectacular 2 days. Wednesday and Friday, the results. It was another strong day overall. It was a best bet sweep on the show as well. Devils team total over for me. Islanders Capitals first period over for Alex B. Smith. Now what, 13-1? For the Washington Capitals.
That's right.
The last 14 games to the first period over. I mean, blink and that thing was 1-1 very early in that first period. So that was pretty cool to see. There's a lot of games. We're not going to break them all down in recap form, but just some of the highlights, I guess you could say. More struggles with the New York Rangers, and we will get to them, obviously, in just a bit because they begin the card today as well against Montreal at home. But more woes for them. They lose 3-1 to the Philadelphia Flyers. And you know what the horrible part about that game is? If not for Igor Shesterkin, that could have been 8-1. I'm serious. That was ugly. That was getting outplayed. That was not getting outworked. That was getting losing puck battles all over the ice, hemmed in their defensive zone, especially in that horrific first period they played. Just awful. And the Rangers are in a really bad way. Clearly, it's a crisis of confidence right now, and they're going to have to find some way to break themselves out of this. And they'll have another shot to do that this afternoon. As I said, we'll get to that in just a bit. Minnesota comes back, beats Chicago 3-2 yesterday. Solid win for them. Florida 6-3 over Carolina. Carolina continues to be a team that until they get Kochetkov back, they're going to be a team that I'm going to continue to pound and continue to attack as far as overs are concerned, because you see this clear as day that with them being down to Spencer Martin and Peretz, the Latvian netminder, this is a Carolina team that is trying hard to score more goals. And when you try to do that, you open up the game, you take more chances, you play more of a rush chance game, trade scoring chances style of play. That's exactly what we're seeing from Carolina, where they're trying so hard to score more goals, but it's compromising their defensive game a little bit and making life harder, on a marginal goaltending situation. So they've been flying over the total. And Florida, credit to them, back-to-back wins after the mini slump, 6-3 there. That was the only thing that didn't hit for me was Carolina team total in that game. We had the over by Fecta. We had Florida money line, Florida team total. So it was a really good game there. With the Panthers getting the 6-3 win. Tampa comes back to beat Nashville 3-2 in overtime. And Steven Stamkos, former member of the Lightning, who once again sees his former team beat his new team with some choice, harsh words for his club after that loss. The question is going to be, can Nashville respond to it? The Capitals, never out of a game, a crazy affair with the Islanders. It goes to overtime. Sure enough, I passed on the Islanders yesterday, the draw, and it does go to overtime. That's sometimes the way it works. And that's exactly what happened there. 5-4. Washington, though, comes back and gets the win in overtime there. Vancouver, 4-3 against Buffalo. Happy to see that. This was a system play. First period over, fell short, but full game over, and Vancouver comes back to cash for me as well as they continue to, outside of the Pittsburgh game with Shelovs in net, who had a tough night. This team just continues to get it done on the road. They have been a phenomenal road team. And Lankinen still undefeated on the road as a starting goalie this year for the Canucks. 9-0 as a starter on the road now for Kevin Lankinen after that 4-3 win for the Vancouver Canucks. New Jersey, 5-4 over Detroit. This was a clean sweep. This was the over by Fecta system play and New Jersey team total over, which was my best bet hitting, so it was great to see that. Columbus, 5-2. Okay, I'm convinced now. This is another San Jose trend in the making here with this after losing to Montreal, you bounce back and you win, because this is now 7-1 for teams after losing to Montreal. And that was the spot for Columbus yesterday. And sure enough, they get into that spot and they beat Calgary 5-2 yesterday. So we've basically got San Jose in the Western Conference and Montreal in the Eastern Conference, where you bet on teams after losing to those two teams. It's been great. I think it's combined, 13-2? That's pretty strong. So we've got to start paying attention. I'm convinced. I'm hooked now. I got to start paying attention to that. Someone loses to Montreal. We got to maybe look to bet on them in the next game. San Jose, speaking of San Jose actually winning a game, they won a game all right. 8 goals. Are you shitting me? 8 goals? My goodness. What happened to Grubauer yesterday? Just a horrific performance. I mean, Joey Daccord, I think, had already kind of taken over the net. That's not going to help Philip Grubauer's case moving forward. 8-5 win for the San Jose Sharks. Will Smith gets on the board. Macklin Celebrini gets on the board. Like I said, 8 goals for this team. Timothy Liljegren's turned into a scoring machine for this team since they got him on defense from Toronto as well. I'm just starting to notice that. He's scoring like multiple times for this team. So very impressive. That's a horrific loss, though, for Seattle. I mean, my gosh, to give up 8 goals. And they get another crack at San Jose tonight, because the same two teams are playing this time at Climate Pledge in Seattle. So Seattle fits the bet on team after losing to San Jose, but the problem is you're paying a price there. So you got to get a little creative if you're going to bet Seattle in that game. And I'm going to be on Seattle. It's just I'll let you know later on in the show how I'm approaching it, but it's a little different the way we're going to go about it there with San Jose and Seattle tonight, because Seattle does fit that trend, which is now 6-1 this season, of betting on teams after losing to the San Jose Sharks. But I think this is the first time that a team after losing to the San Jose Sharks in their next game is playing the San Jose Sharks. So we'll see how that goes when it's all said and done with that, and we'll get to that later. And then on the rest of the games last night, just what do we have? I think most of the games now are at LA. Shout out to Eric Portillo. Getting a win in his NHL debut for the LA Kings. A nice 2-1 victory over the Anaheim Ducks. Solid effort there. Pittsburgh stunning the Boston Bruins. See, that's exactly why I didn't trust Boston. Even though I didn't want Pittsburgh in that game, I didn't trust Boston, minus 170. And sure enough, they go down as a big favorite, 2-1 to the Penguins. It's a horrible loss for the Bruins. Their second loss now under Joe Sacco. I think, 3-2 now is the record for the Boston Bruins after the dismissal of Jim Montgomery. Vegas in a very entertaining game with Winnipeg, 4-3. They get the winner late. What a night for Brett Howden. This guy's a really good player, and he keeps getting better for the Vegas Golden Knights. Great game from him. He gets the overtime winner, and the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-3 with Eric Connors as starter. Yeah.
That's a regulation winner, actually. That was not a goal.
Not overtime.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'll talk about that.
I said overtime. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, it was regulation win. 4-3 for Vegas there. This was an overtime win. Edmonton, 4-3 against Utah. They got away with one, and I got away because I had Edmonton team total over and full game over in this game. So happy with the 2-0. But let's be honest, for a good chunk of that game, especially the first 2 periods, it was all Utah. But Edmonton somehow got out of those first 2 periods tied. And then finally, I think Edmonton started to take over and play better third period and beyond. And that was enough for them to get the 4-3 win on the road against Utah. And then the final game of the night, which was the second TNT game, 5-3 Dallas getting the win against Colorado. It was getting a little hairy there. It was 4-1 Dallas. Colorado got it to 4-3, but the Stars hang on and they get the job done 5-3 over the Colorado Avalanche. A nice bounce back spot. A nice way to end an absolute spectacular Friday. Once again of betting. So 5-3 Dallas gets the win. How about Josh Bogorod, by the way, got the play-by-play assignment for TNT, and he's the Dallas Stars, of course, television voice. Shortage of announcers around the holidays. Same thing earlier in the week. We're on the NBA side involving a Dallas team. They had to borrow the Mavericks radio guy. Mark Followill called a Mavericks game on television for ESPN earlier this week. And now here we've got Bogorod last night calling the Stars game for a national audience. So pretty interesting how that worked out. But Dallas, a much-needed response from them, clearly, after 2 disappointing setbacks. The horrific third period against Carolina, and then the loss to Chicago, where they were just drummed by the Blackhawks the other night. Alex, your thoughts on a loaded Black Friday?
Yeah, busy card, and like I said, you mentioned that Vegas and Winnipeg. That was one of three games that really could have swung yesterday into another big day, and instead turned it into kind of a losing day. That late goal by Vegas, a late goal by Pittsburgh in that game, and then New Jersey and Detroit while cashing a bunch of stuff. And it's funny, I mentioned on the show I liked 4-4 draw with that correct score, ended up being 5-4 and in regulation. All three of those games I had draw plays on, so close to cashing in, and it would have been a huge day. But we're getting into that part of the year now where this used to be the cutoff point for playoff teams, but now we're getting to that point where division games matter a bit more. So getting to that point now where teams, like I said, started to get on these runs and started to find their rhythm, and we can start betting trends and finding these patterns. And we have enough data now to go off of and ride with some of these trends. These system plays now are solidified. Now where everybody's played 20 games, you can start really trusting trends a bit more. That's not saying blindly betting trends, but you can trust trends more and incorporate it into your handicapping. So, when I have a day like that, coming off of a big win on Friday, and then on Wednesday, I should say, and then having a day on like Friday where there's a couple of close calls, you don't want to rock the boat too much. Things are you still seeing the board well. I feel like I am. So we just have to move forward and try and pick out some winners today.
And the journey to do that starts right now. Let's get into it. We've got the Montreal Canadiens, New York Rangers to start the Saturday slate. There's a 1 p.m. Eastern puck drop at Madison Square Garden. Rangers minus 180 home favorites, 6.5 the total, shaded to the under. This was actually higher, minus 210 was the opener. So there's been some Montreal money, and some of it's mine. I've taken Montreal here until the Rangers prove something to me. Prove that they can play good hockey for 60 minutes, which it's been a long time since they've done that. You go back to the rotten first period on the road trip in Calgary, the rotten first period in Edmonton on that Western Canadian road trip, the disappointing game against St. Louis, although that was a tough spot with the Blues walking in there after Montgomery arrives, and New Jersey felt the same effect in the next game. And then, of course, yesterday, and you know what's shocking about yesterday and that horrible first period where if it's not for Shesterkin, it's a lot worse? They had a meeting before that game as a team before that Philadelphia game yesterday, and that's the way you start that game. You get absolutely, completely, and utterly dominated in the first period. Like I said, it would have been a lot worse for the New York Rangers if not for Igor Shesterkin. So just based on pricing, and just based on what I've seen from the New York Rangers, this is a team that I have no reservations about taking shots against in this kind of a price range when you're asking them to lay minus 180 or minus 200 like it once was here in this game for a team on a 6-game losing streak and a performance that's getting worse, not better, with each passing game. That's another thing. Edmonton-Calgary losses to start this losing streak, you had one, maybe 2 bad periods, and then you found your game and you actually played better later in the game. You never played better in the St. Louis game. The Carolina game, it actually was not a bad game, but again, can't hold a lead and you blow it. And then the Philly game to start like that when you try to have a team meeting to figure out what the fuck is wrong is just very alarming right now. There's no question. So, yeah, we'll go with Montreal here and split it with team total. That's what I like to do with the bigger dogs. We don't just put all our stake on the money line. We split it up with team total, and you can get it around minus 120 for Montreal, a team total over 2.5. Jonathan Quick in net, I get it, and he's actually been solid this year, but last time we saw him was against Edmonton, and they played horrific to start that game and hung him out to dry, and they lost that game. So as good as Quick is, he needs his teammates, like any goalie, to be solid, to be good in front of them. And we're not seeing that at the moment from the Rangers. So it's a Canadiens money line and team total split for me in this game. Wouldn't argue right now as well with an over, but I like the Montreal portions of that angle more. Alex, what do you think here? First game, Canadiens Rangers.
Yeah, I think I would go more toward team total than anything else. Except this could be one of those, and that's the thing. The Rangers, as bad as things have been for them, I just always worry about them at home. They
Actually,
can
I'm going to
always
add the
turn
over.
things on.
I'm going to add the over, Alex. It's a strong series history. It's 5 straight overs in the series, which is kind of what I thought. So I'm going to tack on that over 6.5 as well, because the Rangers could break out today. We'll see.
Yeah,
offensively.
and that's the thing. That's what I trust the Rangers to keep their struggles going more on the road, if that makes any sense. There could always be that one home game. That's where their offense tends to break out at times. Where it all and this is a day game. This is in their wheelhouse. They play well sometimes in these day games. So I don't want Habs plus 160 as much as I would trust them to get up and over their team total. Like I said, look at that full game over. So I will have team total pregame, and then maybe I'll add full game over. Try to get a little bit of a better price at down to 6 in game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's I'm kind of with you there, where I feel like the team total is just a little bit. We are still talking about a Montreal game a team that where one game, maybe defensively the goaltending's there for Montembeault, and then the next game it may not be. You're still dealing with that on a game-to-game basis.
I trust Quick more. I trust Quick more than any goalie the Habs have. Even with Quick having an off game, keep in mind the last year and a half he's looked like prime Jonathan Quick. So I certainly would trust him to have more of a bounce back than say Montembeault just steps up and has a 40-game shutout. So.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Unfortunately, he's not a bargain bin price today, Will Cooley, but you got to still bet it. Plus 265, the best price out there for him to score a goal on the top line. He's been the best Ranger, quite honestly, or one of the best Ranger forwards during this horrific run that they've had. And Brett Berard, that scored a couple games ago, and every time he's on the ice, I see him getting a chance or making something happen, or doing a good job on the forecheck. So I like what I'm seeing as well from his game right now as well. All right, this is the second game this afternoon on the slate, the second afternoon game. Carolina and Florida, even money, minus 110, both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. So we talked about this earlier with Carolina's goaltending concerns, Kochetkov and Anderson on the shelf. They're in a tough spot right now with Spencer Martin, who, as we know, the more he starts, the more he plays, the worse he sometimes can get. And we're starting to see that from him the last few games. So Yaniv Peretz is the guy that might get the start here today for the Carolina Hurricanes. This is back-to-back, playing Florida once again, second straight day. But here's the problem with Peretz. I don't have much more faith in him at the moment either. You look at the AHL numbers, 3 appearances there in Chicago, 3.67 goals against, 825 save percentage with the Chicago Wolves for Yaniv Peretz. So if we do see him in net here, that's dubious, putting it mildly. No question about that. We'll see how this one plays out here today. Obviously, Florida, 2 bounce-back wins for them after the little slide that they had, beating Toronto, and then in Carolina last night, taking care of the Hurricanes 6-3. I'm going to go with both teams over their team total, which I did yesterday. I'm going to go back to that again. We know Carolina, even though they finally did not score 4 goals yesterday, what's the run? Still 16-3 in the last 19 Carolina games that they've scored at least 4 goals. So I'm going back to the well with Carolina team total. Again, off a loss. I would expect them to have a solid effort. It's a great price, plus 124 for Carolina team total over 3.5. Also, Florida team total over 3.5 plus 122. And back to the over by Fecta one more time in this game with the Hurricanes and the Panthers as well. Again, Carolina, multiple games in a row, we have seen it with the goaltending injuries. They're trying to score more. They're getting up in the rush more, but they're also giving up more quality and more quality chances defensively. They're not locking things down. They're 4-0 to the over their last 4 games, and these games are soaring over. 9, 10, 7, 9, the total goals scored in the last 4 Carolina games. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like I said, Peretz, it's hard to gauge, how much of a difference right now he is to Spencer Martin. And the way Martin's trended the last couple of games, you could say maybe this is an upgrade. But if you look at those AHL numbers, you're sure as hell not convinced it's an upgrade with an 825 save percentage down in the American Hockey League for Yaniv Peretz. So, like I said, it's both teams over their team total, and it's the over by Fecta here for me in this game. I didn't touch the money line, actually. It's just both teams over their team total and the over by Fecta for me with Hurricanes, Panthers. Alex, what do you think here? Carolina, Florida.
So I had the over 6 yesterday, along with that team total, which of course did fall a goal short. So I'm going back to just total over 6.5 minus 110. Like I said, either it's Spencer Martin in the second start, or Gianna Perez making his NHL debut, which, like you mentioned, his AHL numbers with the Wolves have been awful. Keep in mind, the Wolves aren't a good team either. They have some really shoddy defense in front of them, so all the goalie numbers are going to look a little bad with the Wolves, but still, his
That's a good
numbers,
point.
his numbers are
It
even
is.
worse than they should be. 825, even in the AHL, is a bit inexcusable. So definitely going up and over the total in full game. Don't even want full first period here. If I see the pace early in the game, being that it's a day game, I'll jump in and grab it live. But I'll go pregame with 6.5.
Good stuff. All right. Yeah, as far that makes a lot of sense. As far as the goal props here, certainly Seth Jarvis starting to heat up for this Carolina team. Take a shot with some of these guys down the lineup. Like we're starting to see your Jack Drurys of the world, Jackson Blake, even Jesperi Kotkaniemi scored earlier this week. I mean, if they start to get those guys chipping in offensively, that makes Carolina even that much more dangerous. There's no question about it. I'll throw one out there at you as well because he scored against Toronto a couple games ago. The last time Florida was at home, he's got offense in him. I think it's only a matter of time before he becomes a little more consistent with it. Mackey, return of the Mackey Samoskevich for the Florida Panthers. This is someone to watch for. He's got some good finishing ability. That was a ripper of a shot he had in the win against Toronto the other night versus the former Panther Anthony Stolars to beat him. So Mackey Samoskevich is going to be someone to keep an eye on. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts going on a little bit of a heater as far as scoring for the Florida Panthers moving forward. As far as goaltenders, we expect Spencer Knight for Florida. Would be obvious because it's a back-to-back. It was Bobrovsky and Martin yesterday. You would expect Spencer Knight to get the nod in net here for the Florida Panthers in this rematch on a back-to-back. All right, the rest of the games are at night. And we begin with the Ottawa Senators and the Los Angeles Kings. Note the start time. This is a 7 p.m. Eastern start time in LA, 4 p.m. Pacific, because Hockey Night in Canada rules the world. Hockey Night in Canada says for the Ottawa folks, this has to be 7 p.m. Eastern time. So screw you, LA. you gotta get to the rink at 4 local time. Hockey Night in Canada has the final say. We've got LA minus 120. Home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the under. That is why these games are like that. Every time, Alex, Toronto on a Saturday night plays in Vancouver, plays in LA or they're going to put it at 7 p.m. Eastern time. They will not force Hockey Night in Canada, the Toronto Maple Leafs fans back home to watch at 10 Eastern, 10:30 Eastern. Not going to happen.
Yeah, well, and then of course, and then it gives you the opening of, like I said, a Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver game could be at 10 o'clock Eastern, and then you have your doubleheader. So it makes it. Plus, I mean, Ottawa fans have to stay at 10:30 to watch the rest of the road trip anyway. So it's like, yeah, fair enough.
Exactly. It is what it is. They're going to play the game, and it's got a money line and it's got a total and some props. That's really all that matters to me. They could play it at 1:30 a.m. I'd find a way to handicap it and probably watch it. Yeah, I like Ottawa here, actually. I just for LA, thank you for the win against Winnipeg the other night. Thank you for getting the job done with the system play, which was, of course, them coming off the loss to San Jose, beating a solid Winnipeg team. But this is a very, very inconsistent Kings bunch right now. No question about that. And actually, I forgot that they followed it up yesterday, of course, 2-1 win against Anaheim. It's back-to-back for them, although it's minimal travel, right? It's just going down the freeway from Anaheim back to L.A., but Ottawa does have the rest advantage, 2 days off. They've kind of gotten there. Well, I'll say this. They've kind of found their way again with the back-to-back wins. I shouldn't say that because really it was Linus Ullmark that pulled them through to a victory against the San Jose Sharks. They got badly outshot, badly outchanced, badly outplayed in that game. But Linus Ullmark stepped up with by far his best game in a while and stopping the bleeding of some struggles that he's had lately. So there's no question he played better. We'll see how he fares here. Ottawa now 4-6 on the road. A lot of those road losses, though, Alex, were earlier in the season. Suddenly this team is 3-1 in their last 4 road games in the short term. So the road has started to treat this team pretty well. They beat Boston in overtime. We had, I think, their best game of the year against obviously a very good Toronto team when they shut out the Leafs 3-0. They had the one clunker against Carolina where they got shut out 4-0, but the shots were even. They just couldn't finish. And then, of course, the 4-3 win to start this Western road trip West Coast road trip against San Jose. So I think at this price, I'm interested in Ottawa. That's probably the only bet I'll have in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Sens, Kings.
Yeah, well, maybe a national game in Canada, but I won't be watching a minute of this one. This is a pass for me. I don't trust either one of these teams right now.
Fair enough. I understand that sentiment. It's not easy for me even to go to the betting window with Ottawa here. I just like how it sets up for them. They're starting to build a little momentum. 2 wins in a row. Allmark got his game back, and he's projected to start here tonight. And David, and again, usually this is when you want to fade LA when they win 2 in a row, like they have, because extended winning streaks have been few and far between for the Los Angeles Kings this year. And they've been bad in these games where it's an Eastern Conference team at home as well. You remember when Buffalo went in there and beat them? Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I just wish these 2 teams were playing someone else tonight, because like I said, this would be a good night to fade LA. This would be a decent night to trust Ottawa at a reasonable price, but just not against each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of good props. The chat is on top of this, as they're on top of it usually anyway. They're very astute, as I often say, and give them credit for. But you're right. All these players they're mentioning, your Josh Norris and your Timmy Stützle, Adam Gaudette, who is he's had a remarkable year. I mean, it's unbelievable. 11 goals. This is a guy that's been twirling around in the minor leagues for the last couple of years, and now here he is all of a sudden. With Ottawa getting a full-time shot to be with this team. 11 goals in 21 games. He's got 11 goals. His career high was 59 games with Vancouver in 2019, where he scored 21 goals. Or sorry, we scored 12 goals, 12 goals in 59 games. He's 2 away from topping his career high, and he's doing it in a minuscule amount of time. So, yeah, the draw is not a bad option in this game either. I understand that from people liking it. Yes, Gaudette at the price we're getting is just absolutely nuts. By the way, he's got a great social media handle. You know what his handle is on social media, Instagram, Twitter, all that? Hockey God. Hockey God. That's pretty good. HOCKEYGAUD, because it's Gaudette. It's obviously not GOD as Gaudette. It's GAUD. But yeah, Hockey God. It's pretty good. It's creative handle. Yeah, that's not bad. And he's playing like a god right now for the Ottawa Senators. He's just 11 goals and 20. This is one of the shocking stories of the year, how Adam Gaudette has turned into this extreme goal scorer here for the Ottawa Senators. And obviously on the top line and getting north of plus 400. It's I think I'm kind of giving it away with the for bargain bin. But, yeah, that's bargain bin worthy right there. Adam Gaudette tonight for sure for the Ottawa Senators. All right, next up, we've got Toronto and Tampa Bay. Always a great matchup when these two rivals, playoff history as well with these two. And big game in the division because they're only separated by a couple of points right now in the Atlantic Division. Toronto minus 140, road favorites 6.5. The total, it's Toronto that's leading Tampa in the division, not by much. It's basically Toronto and the Floridas in the Atlantic Division right now, where you've got Toronto nestled in between the Panthers, who now are up on Toronto by 1 point in the division, and Tampa Bay, who are just behind both Toronto and Florida. So it's a big division game. Nice comeback win for the Lightning to beat Nashville 3-2 yesterday with Jonas Johansson in net, which is an even bigger bonus, obviously, to be able to win that game without Vasilevsky, who they saved for the big division game tonight against Toronto, which is not that much of a surprise. Joseph Woll will get the start here for the Leafs as Craig Berube continues to kind of give both guys a shot in net. Woll's been really good lately after a bit of a shaky start. He's just gotten better and better with each passing outing. Still some injuries for Toronto. Bobby McMahon out. He got injured against Florida. That's unfortunate. He had played well. Max Domi still out. Pacioretty, of course, and the usual still on IR. But the good news is 2 big reinforcements back for the Leafs tonight. Yes, indeed. Austin Matthews, the captain, is finally back. Will make his return tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Matthew Nyes also returning to the lineup tonight. Hungry Nyes. Yeah, he is back as well. It'll be Nyes, Matthews, and Nylander on the top line for Toronto in this game tonight. Holmberg, Tavares, and Marner. Interesting move, putting Holmberg on a second line. He's not usually got the offense that makes me think second liner, but they're going to give him that chance there. Robertson, Minton, and Steven Lorentz, Nikita Grabenkin, Connor Dewar, and Alex Nylander on the fourth line. So that's how it shakes up tonight for the Leafs with Woll and net. I definitely like the draw on this game for sure. I think this is definitely one of those games I could see beyond overtime. This is also a revenge spot for the Lightning. They got embarrassed by the Toronto Maple Leafs early in the season, where they lost, and they lost big. What was that game? I remember it was in Toronto. It was in October. Yeah, it was 5-2, but it was actually 5-0 at one point. Like it was just or 5-1 at one point. It was an ugly night for Tampa. They didn't play well. We'll see how they fare here. The games, and by the way, as far as overtimes, now again, the playoff series is included in this, but if you include the playoff games they've played plus the regular season games, it's still 5 of the last 9 meetings between these teams have gone past regulation. So I like the draw. I was looking to bet Toronto, actually, in this spot after the disappointment against Florida, but the revenge spot for Tampa, and quite honestly, the price that Toronto is laying here on the road kept me off the Leafs. I don't want to lay minus 140. I just don't. So just the draw for me in this one. And again, I'm lukewarm on the total because, you would think with Nyes and Nylander back, or Nyes and Matthews, I should say, back, that helps you offensively. Sometimes your offense can be disjointed that first game when you bring 2 key guys back. So interesting to see how that plays out. So total, I'm passing on that. Alex, what do you think here? Leafs, Lightning.
Yeah, I bet the draw last night plus 350 at MGM. It's now down to 340. I think that's the best price available. I'm seeing it now right at the 300 mark at FanDuel, so shop around. But that's the only bet I have here. This, like I said, 2 teams in the division. Saturday night battle. They always kind of play each other close in these kind of spots. So I'm going with the draw.
All right, there we go. I like it. We'll see. There's a good stat from Landon. Leafs last 7 games as favorites against the Lightning have seen the over. See, if I were to look at the over, I'd prefer that first period. Full game, I'm not so sure. And by the way, Berube was talking about, hey, we got to, we finally got away from our structure a little bit to start that game against Florida. So that's the thing I'm concerned about, Landon, with the first period over, because I did see that. But when Berube is talking about we started badly defensively, and they did, it was bang, 2-0 Florida very early in that game the other night. They did not have a good defensive start to that game. There might be an onus for Toronto to get back to that kind of, good structure right off the hop, and don't give a team an early quick lead like that. So interesting to see how it plays out. I like, even in his return, sometimes it takes a couple games for someone to warm up, but Matthew, even Holmberg's got value. Holmberg's playing with 2 guys that have been playing great this year for the Leafs. Tavares has turned back the clock. This has been one of the better seasons Tavares has had. And it goes without saying, Marner's been phenomenal, playing for that big money contract year, making me happy because I took Marner season-long props before the season started. So definitely enjoying seeing that, knowing that he's playing for the bag. And certainly he's playing like it. There's no question right now. So those props I would look at for Toronto. For Tampa Bay, again, Nick Paul is still out, unfortunately. Hagel and Cirelli have been absolutely outstanding for the Tampa Bay Lightning together. I know Gensel, Point, and Kucherov are the headliners. Don't sleep on those 2. Hagel and Cirelli have been really good for this team, and that's, I think, where the best value is for props for Tampa here tonight. All right, Washington, New Jersey. We've got the Devils, minus 160 home favorites, 6 the total. Both teams off victories yesterday. Washington, a comeback win against the New York Islanders. New Jersey, also a comeback win because they were down 2-0 early in that game against Detroit. They rally back and win 5-3 against the Red Wings in that game. I think we've talked about Washington at New Jersey a bunch already. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time they've played this year. And I've said this before with this series history. We said this already, I know, on a previous show. New Jersey wins in Washington. Washington wins in New Jersey. It's just crazy how it's been. That the road team has absolutely dominated this head-to-head series. And you're going to give me the Capitals at this price, even Sans Ovechkin. I'm taking it right now. Plus 140. I'm on Washington. I like it. They're still finding ways to win games and playing well at this point in time. The Capitals, Lindgren in net. I still think there could be a reverberating impact from that blunder against Tampa Bay that he made, where they're going to probably start Lindgren after it was Thompson yesterday, and let's win for him. Let's show that, hey, that was just a one-off. That was just a total fluke accident. He wanted to shovel the puck wide, obviously, of an open net, a yawning cage. He just didn't get the angle the right way unfortunately, on it. And the result was obviously the puck going into his own net in a brutal moment for him. But the way they responded and they rescued that game against Tampa Bay for their beleaguered netminder was very nice to see for the Washington Capitals there in that game. I think when you look at the situation here, New Jersey, now after a nice comeback win, we'll see how they fare. Yeah, Jake Allen will be in net. Not a surprise because they went with Markstrom yesterday in the game against Detroit. We'll see how he fares. His numbers aren't bad, actually. 5-3, .921 save percentage for Jake Allen this year. We'll see how he fares here in this one. I'm still saying overall that I don't think he's been nearly as good, as we've seen at times in the past. So the question is going to be, what are you going to get from him here against this Capitals team? And as I've said many times about the Washington Capitals, I've been impressed with how they've been still managing to find offense and find their goal-scoring ability, even with Alex Ovechkin out of the lineup. We've seen Dylan Strome step up. We've seen Protas step up. There's been multiple key contributors here to the Washington Capitals that have stepped up offensively for them. Tom Wilson, all of a sudden, up on the top line, and he's probably worth a goal prop again in this game with the way he's playing. So I like Washington plus 140. We absolutely have to take first period over. 13-1 in the last 14 Washington games. So I'm on the first period over, and I'm on the full game over too. But again, just like with the previous Washington games, the last few, we put more money, usually a half unit more on the first period over compared to the full game over. And like I said, with that kind of a run, 13-1 to the first period over in the last 14 Washington Capitals games, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Devils.
Yeah, I think everybody knows what my pick is in this game, the first period over. Grabbed it last night, minus 130. It's up to minus 135. So I'd say 140 would be the cutoff. If you see anything higher than 140s, look for that to try to play it a couple minutes into the game live at a cheaper price, something around 120, 125. But obviously still rolling with that high of a trend. And I do like that full game over 6 as well, so I will have a little bit of that, like I said, smaller in pocket as well, going with the over by factor.
And it is back, and I'm now considering Lindgren a backup again because I think Thompson's just played a little bit better than him right now. So, like I said, to me, this is a battle of backups here with Lindgren and Jake Allen here in this Capitals-Devils game. Stefan Nason, I mentioned him yesterday as a goal prop candidate, ended up finding the back of the net. It's probably worth a look again here for this New Jersey Devils team. And by the way, with the Washington in New Jersey as well, I want to point out something else too. 3 straight wins for Washington in New Jersey, 6-4, 4-2, and 6-5. All of them 6+ goals, which is why I think this total, full game over is still a good bet. In addition to the first period over, making it a over by fecta here in this game. All right. Next up, we've got Philadelphia, St. Louis. St. Louis Blues minus 130. Minus 135 home favorites in this game. The total currently sitting at 6, shaded to the under. Philadelphia, back-to-back situation for them. They were, of course, in New York yesterday. Actually, they were home yesterday against the New York Rangers, and the New York Rangers fall short to the Flyers. A solid victory for the Flyers, and they deserved the win. They outplayed the Rangers, especially early, and it would have been a lot worse if not for Shesterkin. That was a quality performance by John Tortorella's Philadelphia Flyers in that game. Now they get to travel to St. Louis here on a back-to-back. St. Louis, one of a very few number of teams. I think the 2 teams that didn't play yesterday were St. Louis and Toronto across the whole entire NHL. That was it. But St. Louis was one of the teams that did not play on Black Friday. Their last game was 3-0 against the New Jersey Devils. And it was a solid victory for the Blues, their second straight after the hiring of Jim Montgomery as head coach. I mean, you don't have to think too hard what I'm on in this game. We're back to the Blues. As much as I like the Flyers yesterday, we're riding this Blues Express with Jimmy Montgomery at the helm. It's been 2, not just good games, it's been 2 really good games from the St. Louis Blues. They've gotten their offense going again, and they've played very good defensively. They've helped out their goalies, and I think it's given Jordan Binnington and even Hofer. Joel Hofer got one of the starts as well since Montgomery's been there. He played very well So there's a lot to like that you can just see in 2 games. Teams playing with a lot more. And they've used this term. Braden Shen's talked about it. Jim Montgomery's talked about it after these 2 wins. Connected. They're playing a lot more connected, the St. Louis Blues here the last couple of games. So minus 130, 35. That's the only bet for me here in this game. Back to the well with St. Louis in this one. It looks like, by the way, for the Philadelphia Flyers, we're likely going to get Kolosov. And remember what we think of that guy, not very highly in net for the Philadelphia Flyers. And like we always say, that jingle, don't put it off, fade Kolosov. I think we'll be looking to do that here once again tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Flyers, Blues.
Yeah, but I'm looking. Erickson is he going to be activated? Because I'm seeing a goalie post. They're like, if it's not Kolosov, it could be Erickson activated tonight.
Oh, he could be back? Okay, well, that's something to keep an eye on. He is by far their best goalie. And like, there's a big difference right now. Erickson to the other 2 guys, the Russian and the Belarusian. They can't hold a candle at the moment to Erickson.
So I'm waiting for official confirmation because that's a big difference. If it's Erickson in that, I'm actually taking the draw. If it's not, then I'm going to be taking a small shot with St. Louis just on the money line. But I do think St. Louis can find a way to win here, but I think it could be a little tight. Looking at the last 2 meetings, we've seen 2-1 decisions by each team in the last 2 games. They've split the last 4 meetings. So this is one where, like I said, St. Louis obviously in decent form with the coach bump still kind of riding. But like I said, it makes a difference who's in net for Philly. So I want to wait and see first.
Exactly. And that might be something I've already bet St. Louis, but we'll make some decisions on whether we keep the whole bet if it's Erickson or not. I think we got to give the Flyers some credit. I mean, I thought they played very well yesterday. I know the Rangers stink right now. That's part of the equation as well, but you got to give them credit, no doubt about it. They played a solid game. They've actually played pretty hard most nights, Philly. The problem sometimes is the goalies are so weak without Erickson, they give up a bad one. And then sometimes they just don't get that critical goal enough because they still sometimes have offensive issues, the Philadelphia Flyers, and we saw that last year too. They work their bag off and they lose 2-1 and they're just not enough finish. And that's sometimes what happens with them as well. All right. Next up, we've got Calgary and Pittsburgh. Penguins minus 120, home favorites. The total 6 shaded to the over here in this game. Obviously, both teams on a back-to-back. Now, Pittsburgh goes from Boston back to Pittsburgh, and of course, Calgary was in Columbus yesterday, and now both of these teams on back-to-backs. The Flames with the loss to the Jackets, the Penguins with the upset victory over the Boston Bruins last night by a score of 2-1. I can't believe they held anybody to 1 goal, Pittsburgh, the way they've defended this year. But they were able to do that last night against the Boston Bruins. We'll see if they can carry over that kind of defensive game. I know I read the stuff that Dan Kingarski posts a lot. Of course, we were associated briefly with his platform on the show. And I know he commented on the fact that was probably the most complete game that Pittsburgh had last night against the Boston Bruins. Now, is that a sign of good Pittsburgh turning shit around, or is that just Boston still having their major issues, even though they made the coaching change? That ended up being the problem for me. I'm on Calgary. I know they've had a rough road trip so far. Let's not kid ourselves. This is not a good run that they've had. 3 straight losses at Ottawa, at Detroit, at Columbus. Not exactly what you want to see to begin this road trip, and that defense is starting to become an issue again. They were playing tight, and I don't even fault the goaltending. Could you maybe say Wolf not nearly as sharp on this road trip in a couple of those games? Yeah, but they haven't played as well as far as in front of them lately either. But this is not a system play, but I see Pittsburgh as a favorite. I'm not really that interested. It's that simple. I am interested in going against them when I see them with that minus symbol next to their team name, knowing that they're favored. And that is not a situation I trust Pittsburgh in. That is for sure. So, and by the way, head-to-head wise, Calgary's won 5 of the last 7 meetings between these 2 teams. Although a lot of those have been at home, Pittsburgh has won the last 2 when hosting the Calgary Flames. But nevertheless, I'm going to go back and look. Pittsburgh's won 2 in a row here. Vancouver and Boston. Have they won 3 in a row all season long? They have not. No, they haven't. I just checked. They have not had a 3-game win streak. Calgary for me. Alex, what do you think here? Flames, Penguins.
This is another pass for me. I'm leaning toward the over, but like I said, with these two goals that were projected, just Vladar and Nedeljkovic, it seems like it could be an over kind of a game. But then, like I said, the way that these two teams play, especially Pittsburgh, I can see them trying to be a bit more defensive. That's Calgary's kind of MO as well, to try to shut things down on the back end. And this game just feels like it could be one of those that maybe starts off hot and then just completely craters out. So it's a pass for me now. More likely would be a live betting game.
All right, there you go. A live look here for Alex with Flames and Penguins here in this one. Calgary struggled offensively last game. They've only scored 3 goals the last 2 games.
Yeah.
We'll see how they fare here. It was Jari, believe it or not. That was actually a good performance from Jari. Very, very good performance. But we'll see probably Nedeljkovic here tonight on the back-to-back. And he was playing solid for a while. Last few starts, not nearly as sharp. So I could maybe twist my arm into thinking this goes over the total as well, because I think we're going to see Vladar in net tonight for the Calgary Flames, with it being a back-to-back for them. So I know the low-scoring games are few and far between. Usually when I see Pittsburgh play a rare under, I want to go the other way in their next game. So we'll probably grab just a small piece of the over here as well. Nedeljkovic and Vladar is indeed the projected goaltending matchup here tonight in this game. All right, next up here we've got, as we continue along, Buffalo Sabres, New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders minus 120 home favorites. The total in this one sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. What a weird team Buffalo is, right? You have that nice West Coast California trip, 3-0. I thought they played as good as they've played all year, especially defensively. You go back home and you lose back-to-back at home to Minnesota and Vancouver. Although Minnesota, pretty good team. Vancouver, excellent on the road. So, and they had a lead. And I thought Buffalo played well enough to win that game. They had that early quick start, but they just could not hold the lead against the Vancouver Canucks. They also got into some penalty trouble. So we'll see if they can bounce back here against the Islanders. Islanders looking to bounce back, as they actually had multiple leads against Washington, could not hold it. They lose in overtime on a beautiful rush by Jacob Chikrin to score in overtime for the Capitals, and that 5-4 overtime loss in that game. Buffalo had really owned the Islanders in Buffalo until the last meeting in November, early in the month, first day of this month, when the Islanders got a 4-3 win in Buffalo. We will see if the Sabres can exact some payback here. That 4-3 Islander win in Buffalo, November the 1st, also snapped a streak of 6 straight unders in the head-to-head series between the Islanders and the Sabres. Good point by Aaron, and I was just about to get to that, that the injury situation is still very problematic. Pelech and Riley on the blue line, Barzal on IR, J.G. Pajot now, who has been up in the top 6 lately for the Islanders, is day-to-day now due to an injury. That's not good. This team's horrific at UBS Arena, 3-7. Believe it or not, Buffalo 5-4-1 on the road, and Buffalo has gone 3-1 in their last 4 road games. They swept with the West Coast in Cali, and they had that 6-1 win against the Rangers, and that was before the Rangers fell apart, like they have been the last few games. So give me Buffalo here. Plus, I have no problem. I mean, Buffalo's sketchy, but the Islanders is a favorite in their form right now at home, where they're 3-7 this year at UBS Arena. Now favored, 3 straight losses, 1-6 in their last 7 games. The Islanders, yeah, I'll take a shot with Buffalo. If it loses, it loses. I'll take Buffalo in this spot and the draw. And now it'll probably not be a draw because I'm taking
Right.
That's kind of been the way it's been for me lately, and even Alex with these Islander games, these Islander games where we lose one night, we don't come back to it the next game, and then that's the game that goes past regulation. But yeah, Sabres and draw for me. Alex, what do you think here? Sabres, Islanders.
Well, and here's the thing, right? And I think we're kind of in the same, we have the same view of Buffalo, New York, and Washington, right? We like Washington. We think Washington should have been able to beat the doors off of the Owls yesterday. We didn't think that's why we didn't like the draw. We're here. Buffalo and New York, as bad as things are getting with the Isles, and as like I said, topsy-turvy as Buffalo has been, this feels like it could be a closer matchup to where the draw comes in play. And obviously, price reflects it too. I'm seeing some books have this below 300, so obviously shop around. You never want to grab a price that's less than plus 300 when you're talking about the draw, but I do like the draw here. And I would lean with Buffalo as well at even money. Like I said, Islanders just have a number of things going wrong, and you just wonder, how much longer is this? If they continue to go into just a really deep tailspin and losing streak, could Patrick Roy be shown the door? Obviously he's not going to get rid of Lou right away, but something's going to have to change, and you don't really have the space to just start trading and moving around players necessarily. So this is an interesting spot for the Isles, and the Isles need a win here. I don't think they get one, so I think I've kind of talked myself into it as well. Yeah, give me Buffalo and the draw both on this card tonight.
I'm also going to jump in here on an over by facta here because the last meeting in Buffalo went over first period and full game. I'm pretty sure it did. Yeah, it did. First period and full game. The Islanders, each of their last 3 games have gone over in the first period and over in the full game. And why is that? Because of the defensive injuries. That's still costing them in their, like they're still giving up more goals than they want to. And it's because of those injuries on D. 3 straight first period and full game overs for the New York Islanders coming into this one. So, and we're only getting 5.5 here. So I do like that. The first period and full game over. So there you go. 4 bets. The over by facta plus the Sabres plus the draw. Should be James Reimer in net tonight for the Sabres. Yes, confirmed. And Sorokin for the New York Islanders. Actually, Reimer had a decent first start with the Sabres on the road trip against San Jose. 4-2 win, only gave up 2 goals. But he's one of those guys, like one game is great. Can the next game be great? We'll see. But Sorokin, again, hasn't had a great year, product of the Islanders' struggles and injuries defensively, I think have really hurt his play because, they're just not playing that same team structure in front of him. And you're seeing it with the results for Sorokin. I mean, 909 save percentage for him is not great.
This is a true indictment of how bad things have gotten for the Islanders. They're minus 120 with Sorokin projected as a starter against Buffalo and James Reimer.
Yeah.
What is that telling you? Just goalies alone, this line shouldn't be minus 120 to even money. So that just tells you where the Isles are right now.
And how about the fragile psyche element of the way the Islanders are playing now? 6 losses in their last 7 games. And you have that game in the palm of your fingertips against a good Washington team yesterday, and you piss it away. That's a brutal loss. They were up 4-2 going into the third, 4-4, and then you lose in overtime. Terrible loss. Now you got to pick yourselves up off the mat. You're already fragile to begin with as a team. Not an easy spot. That's why I think it's still worth a shot here on Buffalo here in this spot tonight against the Islanders. All right, next up, we've got Nashville and Minnesota Predators. I don't know what more to say. It's just been a colossal disappointment, and another loss for them yesterday, another game where they had an early lead and they can't hold it. They can't sustain it. Tampa Bay battles back with their backup in net, Jonas Johansson, and they come back to beat the Predators 3-2 in overtime yesterday. And now Nashville on a back-to-back has to play Minnesota, who get to stay in the cozy confines of XL after beating Chicago 3-2 yesterday afternoon. Both of these teams played in the afternoon yesterday, but Nashville's the team that has to do the traveling. That being said, there is a situation here where Stamkos basically got on the team after that loss yesterday, kind of called them out, saying, we got to be a whole hell of a lot better than what we have shown here this season. Now, do you get a response? And even if you do get a response, is it going to be good enough to get a victory here against this team is going to be the question. This Minnesota team, that's going to be the question here for the Predators. I mean, I usually like that. When I hear that from a Stamkos yesterday, trying to get the team going. It's been a rough season so far. Nobody in a million years projected a 7-17 record for the Nashville Predators at this stage of the season. And that's 12 regulation losses, 5 overtime or shootout losses. So that's what makes up the 7-17. That being said, Minnesota, they're only 1 game above 500 at home. It's actually been on the road where this team's been at their absolute best. Like, they've been on fire on the road, 10-1-3, only 1 regulation loss on the road. So I prefer to back Minnesota on the road right now, believe it or not, than at home. And after Nashville gets kind of called out by Stamkos yesterday, it sets up that situationals and certainly the price kind of point to Nashville. But man, it's difficult. it's difficult to actually hit that confirm button on your sports book and say, let's take Nashville right now, with the way they just continuously keep coming up short and just underachieving to this degree. And it's everything. It's games where they score, but then they give up too much. It's games where they're a little bit better defensively, and then the last 3 games they don't score enough. Scoring 2 goals in each of the last 3 games. So I lean Nashville. I like the fact that we got a team that's getting called out and trying to rally the troops here, Stamkos. But boy, it's not an easy bet to make, I will admit. And then I see John X in the chat. Preds 0-6 as a road dog this year. And I remember taking them against New Jersey as a road dog earlier this week, and they lost 5-2. So very, very difficult, in my opinion, even though I lean Nashville to actually go ahead with it. Alex, what do you think here? Preds, Wild.
Well, we got to really wait and see for this game because we don't know who's going to be in net for Nashville. Now, of course, UC Saros is their number 1 goalie, but a trade was made today where Scott Wedgwood was sent to Colorado for Justus Annunen.
Okay, I guess Joe Sakic addressed his goaltending finally.
If you saw me laugh on screen, probably like the first 5 minutes of the show, because I was actually looking at I knew the trade happened, but I didn't know what all was involved. There was also a 6th round pick going back in the deal as well. Can someone tell me what either one of these GMs are thinking? Here's Nashville with Trotz. You guys had the best prospect, not named Dustin Wolf, ready to go, being a possible number 2 or number 1 within the next 3 years here in Nashville. And then you go and sign UC Saros to an 8-year deal. You then trade Askarov to San Jose. You bring in Wedgwood from Dallas, who now you're flipping to a division rival, mind you, in Colorado that needs goaltending help in the worst way possible. And you're bringing back Justus Annunen, who had just now signed a new deal with Colorado just a few months ago. What the fuck is going on with these goalies and these GMs? Yeah. It makes absolute 0 sense right now.
Yeah.
So it's baffling. But anyway, as far as tonight in this game goes, either we're seeing Saros again, or we could see the debut of Annunen with Nashville, who we know we certainly don't trust. I don't think changing jerseys is going to help him right now. Certainly against a Minnesota team that's been able to find that offense at times. Like I said, struggled early in the game yesterday. And I mentioned on the show, I said, if the Hawks take a lead, Minnesota is certainly live to come back. And sure enough, second period, they get those 2 goals to tie it 17 seconds apart, a goal late in the second, and that's all they need to win it. So this is a spot I would be looking at Minnesota, depending on who's in goal. This would be one where you want to check Patreon, because I'll officially have everything that I do like in this game once the goaltending is confirmed. But that's just baffling with Nashville. You guys had a chance to have 2 quality goaltenders that you already had in your system, and now you're playing musical chairs with a bunch of crap. And it's not helping the cause of everything else that's going wrong with Nashville right now.
Of course, we're talking about Mr. Askarov, who is now in San Jose. And
7-3 in the AHL, by the way. Askarov.
Yeah. Couldn't have used him. No, apparently not. No. And now you're going to wear Saros into the ground even more now, and I actually think this trade's worse for Nashville, because I actually think Wedgwood in Colorado could, give them some decency in net at times. But Annunen, with he's gone kind of downhill again the last few times we've seen him in Colorado. I'll tell you what, if we see Annunen start tonight, give me over 5.5. And by the way, it's been an over series history trending that way, believe it or not, with Nashville and Minnesota. So I will move on that if Annunen is confirmed in net here for the Nashville Predators tonight. And even then, I lean over, because it's 8-2 to the over with these teams in the last 10 meetings. 5-1 in the last 6 have gone over between the Predators and the Wild. So I do lean over 5.5. It will be certainly a bet if it's Justus Annunen making his Nashville debut tonight. All right, we've got San Jose and Seattle for the second straight day. We've got Seattle minus 220. Road home favorites at Climate Pledge. The total in this one sitting at 6.5, shaded to the over. I mean, that was just an absolutely insane game yesterday. 8 goals put up on the board by the Seattle Kraken in that, or by the San Jose Sharks rather, in that victory over the Seattle Kraken. This is that angle again that we've often talked about, where we've got Seattle losing to San Jose, and the team that is off a loss to San Jose bouncing back in their next game. What is it now? 6-1 on the season. But this is the first time the team after losing to San Jose is playing San Jose again for the second straight game. So we'll see how that plays out. You can, obviously minus 220. There's very little value. So what I did here, because look, the Seattle can't be happy. They certainly can't be happy. They can't be happy that they gave up that first goal early in that game either to the Sharks, which put them behind the 8 ball right away. I think this is probably a good spot to jump in here with a Kraken first period puck line, minus a half, plus 146. I think that's a good approach here in this game. And also Seattle, full game puck line I'll go with, but I'll go with the -1 puck line at minus 120 rather than the -1.5, just in case it's a 1-goal victory. But I think they can get a win by margin here. The one thing about San Jose is on the road, they have been pretty rough lately. 5 straight road losses for the San Jose Sharks. They've been good at home. They've found ways to be competitive and win games at home. But on the road, they have had definitely some issues of late, the San Jose Sharks. And now they find themselves up against a Seattle Kraken team that I'm sure is not going to be in a good mood after the way they played, especially in their own end and goaltending-wise against San Jose yesterday. Obviously, we should see Joey Decord here back in net here on the back-to-back. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but fully expect that to be the case on the back-to-back. Vitek Vanacek, who won yesterday and still spite of giving up, 5 goals. But Vitek Vanacek is back in between the pipes here, confirmed for the San Jose. A very interesting call by Ryan Warsofsky, going right back to Vitek Vanacek here on the second of back-to-backs after he got the win. Albeit I say win loosely because he still did, like I said, give up 5 goals in that not crazy 8-5 affair yesterday in San Jose between these teams. So I'm going to go with a Seattle first period and full game puck line split. Alex, what do you think here? Sharks, Kraken.
I use this more often when we're looking for things in the bargain bin range, but I'm going to just take this. This is not bargain bin worthy, but I think it's a good bet. Jared McCann to score a goal tied with Seattle to win. So that's anytime goal scorer and team to win parlay that's available at FanDuel at plus 250. So I like Seattle. Like I said, that's a way of trying to grab the system play number 2 and also get it at a better price. But I also do like Jared McCann to chip in. So plus 250 with that as a parlay.
Yeah, that's a good one. And a lot of times, too, when Seattle wins and gets things going offensively, how many times is Jared McCann a part of it? Quite often. And he was quiet yesterday, so that means probably back at home today, one of your leaders, one of the guys you count on offensively, could definitely maybe see him in a bounce-back type of spot. I mean, for San Jose, take your pick with who you bet for goal props right now. But Celebrini, you got to keep looking in that direction with what he continues to do. There's no doubt. Eklund, Will Smith, Granlund have been pretty solid lately for the Sharks as well. So the one thing about San Jose is when they're going like this, it's not a bad team to look for as far as goal props that have some value. All right, Utah, Vegas. Next up here, we've got the Vegas Golden Knights, minus 160, home favorites. The total in this game sitting at 6.5, shaded to the over. Right, rocking right back with, and I added this late. And if you were following me on Twitter X, I posted this actually as a Twitter X late edition bet for me yesterday once Eric Comrie was confirmed in net for Winnipeg, and that was Winnipeg Vegas first period over. I ended up getting in on that. Comrie in net. Vegas at home this season with first period. We have found out with Vegas, the first period overs, Alex, really cooled off with Vegas during their road trip. But the Vegas first period overs at home at T-Mobile Arena continue to be really good. And I mean really good. Like the record for, I don't have it on the top off the top of my head, but I know it's very strong overall. Vegas Golden Knights to the first period over in their home games this season at T-Mobile Arena. It cashed again last night. And that to me is my only bet here. I like first period over Utah and Vegas. Vegas laying $1.60 against a, still a feisty Utah club after beating Winnipeg last night. And then I think they've got a big opponent coming up on deck as well, Vegas. So that does concern me about this. Is the focus going to be there for 60 minutes, get the job done kind of attitude against Utah tonight? Yeah, because Vegas just came off the win against Winnipeg. They played Colorado at the end of the road trip before that, and they got Edmonton Edmonton on deck, December the 3rd, which is on Tuesday. So in between is the spot against Utah. I don't love it, the spot, the way it sets up for Vegas tonight. So I'm off the side, but I like first period over. Just riding it with these Vegas overs in the first period at home. Alex, what do you think here, Utah, Vegas?
Yeah, it'll be a small play for me pregame because I've seen the cheapest thing is -140, and then we'll look to try to grab a little bit something as that price goes down early, first couple of minutes into the game. But yeah, liking that first period over look as well. Also would look towards maybe full game over, try and grab that live and grab that down to a 6 or something.
Yeah, that was a late ad for me on the. There he is. This guy's been giving me all the stats and stuff, and there it is. He's got it in the chat right now. 9-2, first period over at home for the Vegas Golden Knights. I knew it was pretty strong. Yep. 9-2 to the over, first period over at home for Vegas. To me, that's definitely worth riding, in my opinion. Once again tonight, we should see. By the way, tonight here in this game, let me just see. I had to go. I don't know why the window. I've got so many. I probably closed the window where I had all my lineup info accidentally. But Ilya Samsonov projected tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights, but not confirmed yet. And I'm seeing you've been talking about this, Alex, for a while now with Connor Ingram on IR, and I know they've been riding Karel Vejmelka, and he got the start last night against Edmonton. When are we going to see Mr. Stauber, Rob Stauber's kid, Jackson? Well, tonight might be the night. It looks like. So we will see. But Jackson Stauber is currently projected, not confirmed, but projected to be the starting netminder for Utah, which would be his first start this season in the NHL with Utah.
Yeah, and he's, like I said, had some decent looks, when in Rockford when he was with the Chicago organization. Haven't seen too much of what he's done so far this year, though. So it'd be interesting to see if he does get the start.
There we go. Good stuff there. Like I said, first period over. That's all I got in that one. All right, Edmonton and Colorado. Final game of this Saturday slate. We've got Colorado -130, home favorites. The total at 6.5, shaded to the over in this game. I don't know if this is a slam dunk over, quite honestly, because the first thing everyone thinks of when it's Edmonton and Colorado is all the firepower these teams possess. But Colorado, I'm sure, was not thrilled with the way they gave up 5 goals, struggled defensively against the Dallas Stars last night. We'll see who's in net for this game. Obviously, last night they had Georgiev in net, and now it's a question of it's just the Nashville game all over again, where we're going to wait to see if Scott Wedgwood, the wedge wall, gets to Denver in time, and if he would be possibly available to make his Avalanche debut tonight on the back-to-back, because they no longer have Onanen, and I'm not sure Jared Bednar 100% is going to throw Georgiev back in there on the second night of back-to-backs for his team. So very interesting dilemma here, what we get as far as the goaltending is concerned for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. It depends, I guess, on how quick Wedgwood gets his way down to Denver, because I have doubts, Steve, he'd be ready. He's probably by default just going to have to go back to Georgiev again. And Georgiev is projected right now as the starting goalie, but it is not confirmed as of yet. And Alex just posted the stats of Stauber in the American Hockey League with Tucson. Actually, pretty good numbers when you look at it. 2.29, 930 as goals against, 930 save percentage. So pretty solid numbers there for Jackson Stauber so far for the for Utah's farm team there, Tucson. So we'll see how that goes. Good stats from Slats. Good to see Slats in the chat. He's also always in the chat on when I'm on with Jimmy the Bag on Pub Sports Radio on Thursdays. Avs 8-2 the last 10 meetings against the Oilers. 5 of the last 7. That's what I liked, the draw. That's exactly what I liked in this game, Slats, the draw. It's a strong draw series history. 5 of the last 7 have gone to overtime. I lean over. I don't know. There's something about this. It feels too obvious, to like over 6.5 here. Skinner, by the way, has been confirmed in net for the Edmonton Oilers. I'll wait on this one. I do lean over, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on it. We'll have to wait and see. Although I see Landon with another great stat. You guys are just awesome today. I mean, these guys are amazing, these chat, our family, our Ice Guys fam, and all the great trends and numbers they bring out there. Believe me, it's not just us giving you the great info and insight and stats and analysis.
That's right.
Our group in the chat is as good as it gets And here's Landon. Last 7 games for Colorado on a back-to-back. It's gone over the total. So there you go, 7-0 to the over in Colorado games on a back-to-back. So if you that certainly pushes me more in the direction of pulling the trigger on over 6.5. I do lean that way anyway, but might end up getting there after seeing that. I like the draw most of all. I mean, certainly I could see this game being competitive. We saw overtime with Edmonton last night, obviously, against Utah. And Edmonton's getting a little, the Edmonton draws here all of a sudden, not the Oilers, the draws lately. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 8 games for Edmonton have gone past regulation. So you combine that with the strong series history of going past regulation. So the draw was a pretty clear choice for me in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Oilers, Avs.
Yeah, I grabbed that draw. I got plus 330, which that seems to be the price literally everywhere. I don't see any discrepancy in that one, which is interesting. Sometimes you'll see a variance, but 330, 331, 330, 330 everywhere. So that's the draw price. And I will take a small dabble with the correct score, 3-3 plus 1,300 available at FanDuel.
You've been pretty good with timing these, and there's been a couple massive hits with these correct score bets that Alex has been mentioning and giving out here on the show. So we'll see if he can hit again. I like Vasily Podkolzin again. What did I say? He couldn't buy a goal, couldn't put a puck in the ocean for the longest time. And now what's he got? Goals in back-to-back games now for Edmonton. He scored again last night against the Utah Hockey Club. That's how it works, folks. When you're an offensive talent, you could go through the longest drought, feel like you're never, ever going to score again. And then all of a sudden you get that one goal to get that old piano off the back. And all of a sudden the floodgates may start to open. And remember, he's playing with Leon Draisaitl, pretty good player too. So I definitely like Vasily Podkolzin for Edmonton, who's now scored in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers. Rangers goal. Yes, Rangers goal in the first period. They have taken a 1-0 lead. Oh, they need a win so badly. And this is probably as good a chance as they've got to get one. So they've got to find a way to nail down 2 points here, because this ship is going to feel like I don't want to go there with the sinking. They're still in standings wise in a good spot, but you lose to Montreal at home with everything that's happened the last 6 games. It's going to start to feel like the ship's on the verge of sinking. So this ends up being a very important early. It's just one regular season game, but this does feel like it's higher urgency and way more important than normal. So very important first goal for the Rangers as they lead Montreal 1-0. Great stuff. Awesome to talk about this Saturday card, as it always is here on the show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. 538 people watching live. We appreciate it. Hit the like button. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in on a busy Saturday, still a holiday weekend south of the border. And you know what? We also appreciate all our Patreon members. We thank you. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. Make sure you get on board. All our bonus content is there. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Just $10 per month. We will get into some live exclusive betcasts in the new year, starting in January as well. We are recording one for sure, and maybe even a couple in December, of bonus player suite interview shows as well. Yes. That we have planned that will be Patreon exclusive as well. So looking forward to that. And again, you'll get all that and more. And your $10 per month subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So sign up, just $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Yeah, also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We had the Black Friday sale yesterday. Hopefully you took advantage of it. I know some orders came in. So that is over, unfortunately. We will have some more deals coming up, though, as we head into holiday shopping season. So now's the time to buy things. If you want to get something under the tree that's black and blue for your loved ones, that's got Ice Guys written all over it, go to the store right now. Shop today. That's iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, good stuff. It is time now for Bargain Bin Special of the Night and Best Bets, coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgaters Social. And a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great Ice Guys sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. It's the only thing that went wrong for me yesterday was no bargain bin winners yesterday on the show, although we did give you Nason, and he was able to score for New Jersey just as a regular goal prop recommendation. Alex, where are you headed for the bargain bin today?
So we're going up the street to the XL Energy Center. Minnesota's taking on Nashville, and you mentioned about Steven Stamkos kind of calling out the work ethic of this team. It's been a very disappointing start for the Preds. So whenever you have a guy, step up, call out team, usually you look for those leaders to step up and then contribute on the ice. I think one of those guys would be Roman Josi, defenseman, long time, stalwart back there. He's a guy who's been firing the puck. You get him anytime goal plus 440 available at FanDuel. So I like one from Roman Josi, the Nashville Predators. It's anytime goal plus 440 at FanDuel tonight against the Minnesota Wild.
All right, I like it. That's a good one. Roman Josi, he's been actually popping the puck in the net lately, too, for the Predators. I think he got one of their goals, I believe, yesterday against Tampa Bay as well. So Roman Josi at a nice price there, north of plus 400 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night, I kind of gave it away earlier in the show. I mentioned it. We'll go to the man known as Hockey God on social media, Adam Gaudette for the Ottawa Senators, now on the top line, 11 goals on the season in 21 games, and now even greater opportunity to find the back of the net, plus 575 at Caesars, the best price right now with Adam Gaudette. So we'll roll with that for bargain bin special of the night. Adam Gaudette, Ottawa Senators, plus 575 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. 2-0 sweep yesterday. See if we have an encore for this Saturday. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Well, Washington's playing tonight, so you already know where we're going. First period over with the Capitals. 13-1 the last 14. We're just going to keep on riding this, especially with these great prices. Like I said, it's high, up to 140. So anything higher than 140, look to play it a little bit cheaper in game. But we're looking at Caps Devils first period over as a Saturday best bet.
There you go. Caps Devils over 1.5. 13-1 in the last 14 Washington Capitals games for first period overs, and we will see if that train continues tonight. Capitals Devils first period over 1.5, which you can get right now at around minus 130.35 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. And my best bet for this Saturday card, this one was a little bit more difficult to come through with the best bet, but look, it's been great. It's 9-2 on the season. I'm going to go with a first period over as well, but I'm going to Utah and Vegas. Let's take that game over 1.5 in the first period. Not to mention the matchup handicap makes sense too. It could be Samsonov for Vegas, who's he's been good, but a little more up and down lately. And it could be Jackson Stauber for Utah, who, with all due respect, tough first game this would be for him with his new team in Vegas against a very capable offensive club like the Golden Knights. So I think it sets up well. 9-2 to the first period over this year for Vegas at home. Let's ride it tonight. Utah, Vegas, over 1.5 in the first period, minus 140. That is going to be my best bet here for this Saturday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate it very much. Hit the like button on the way out. One last thing, too. The next Ice Guys Live Betcast Tuesday, December the 10th. So a little over a week from now, 7 p.m. Eastern. This is our final betcast of the year. So make sure you join us for this one. As always, you can DM me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send it to you Tuesday, December 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the final Ice Guys live betcast of 2024. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch, or actually Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we're back with you tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys.